Final Fantasy XIV is not World of Warcraft. It's a very obvious statement, yet we as beginners of Final Fantasy XIV and migrants from World of Warcraft and other places, we keep hearing it in the game and we keep hearing it in the comments to our videos, for example, as it happens in my case. Hello and welcome back to the channel everyone, I'm your host Gyro. Today I'd like to address this particular sentiment and I'd like to talk to you about my experience that highlights the fact that Final Fantasy XIV is not World of Warcraft, but it can be played as such and should be played as such in some cases. So please hold on to your dislikes and hear me out. Let's talk about it. I hopefully will present the full picture to you in this video. So, Final Fantasy XIV versus WoW once again. Well, as a person who is new to Final Fantasy XIV, I believe that this is a very obviously kind of important topic still to get straight with my new community, with my newly found friends here in Final Fantasy XIV and on YouTube. So, let me just set the record straight. I could not agree with you more. It definitely is not World of Warcraft. Final Fantasy XIV is its own game, and the more I play it, the more I have to say that in many ways, I would even dare say in majority of ways, Final Fantasy XIV is better than World of Warcraft. In some areas, however, of Final Fantasy XIV, as I level through A Realm Reborn, ARR content, I do believe that Final Fantasy XIV can and probably should be played similarly to how we used to play World of Warcraft. If you are one of my new subscribers and new friends from Final Fantasy XIV community, firstly, thank you for being here and taking my videos for what they are, supporting a beginner's journey in this gorgeous game. If you are not a subscriber yet, but you like this kind of content or simply want to show your support, it's much appreciated. So please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. So my experience in Final Fantasy XIV as a fresh migrant from WoW remains quite rich and interesting as I discover new things. So I would like to, speaking of new features, tell you about trials very briefly. They seem to me like very short scenarios of fighting one particular boss with a group as part of main story questline so far, and possibly some achievements in the future, since you can re-queue for those trials later. It didn't look like there are any rewards, and by rewards I mean something tangible from those trials, like equipable gear or even cosmetic rewards, but as always, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong here. I enjoy the concept of trials because someone might feel like a quick challenge and a bit of group content without committing to the whole dungeon, provided there is actually something to get for that time investment other than experience. But often experience is also good enough, I get that too. So where is Final Fantasy XIV vastly different from World of Warcraft? And I'd like to point it out once again specifically to people new to the game. It is in pretty much all aspects that have anything to do with the community. Really, it's the biggest difference that I've seen so far, and yes, I know another massive difference is the sheer amount of content to do in the game, even at this beginner and early game level stretch, but I still put community first. I think community is a massive difference. I failed twice, like a noob, quite embarrassingly, as part of run of this trial, but pay attention to the fact that nobody is raging. Nobody is toxic. Nobody is calling me a noob. I have a ton of other accumulated footage from dungeons where people tell me, "Do you have no gear? Have you equipped your best gear? If you don't have better gear, I'll meet you in Lim Salaminsa to give you some." When did that happen last time to any of you in World of Warcraft? Honestly, defenders of Blizzard, when did that happen to you last time? To us as WoW players, who might be nice people on the inside, but we are not used to this niceness and most importantly patience that people show around Final Fantasy XIV group content. This is something that's gonna strike you very strongly. It's very hard not to have an emotional reaction to that, positive emotional reaction to that. I had maybe less than 1% of Final Fantasy XIV gatekeepers accusing me in the comments to jumping on a bandwagon of WoW migrants or needing, to bite my tongue until I've learned everything that there is to learn about the game before I share my impressions. The others were like, yeah man, welcome. And it means a lot. It means a lot to me. It honestly does. So that's where Final Fantasy XIV is vastly different, and the WoW player needs to understand this. Enjoy and embrace this. Or leave, in my opinion, if you cannot fit into this nicer culture. That is me as a WoW veteran telling you. Because even as a fresh migrant, I can tell you that this world and community fit my personality a lot better than WoW fit over the past few years. I don't tolerate toxicity, not in the game, not on my channel. I don't want any extra stress. WoW somehow always manages to do that. And this particular point has nothing to do with my burnout with the game as such. It's the social elements of WoW community that I no longer want to tolerate. And I also don't want those elements to migrate into Final Fantasy XIV. It's like discovering a pristine beach somewhere on an island in Thailand and hoping that nobody else finds it, because before you know it, then there'll be broken beer bottles and cigarette butts everywhere. Do you know what I mean? It is not about gatekeeping, it's about telling people openly that this is how this world of Final Fantasy XIV runs. And you're welcome, but be nice. Now, with this position out of the way, let me share my thoughts on where Final Fantasy XIV can and arguably should be played the way we are used to playing World of Warcraft. This is going to be potentially controversial for sure, as I always welcome variety of opinions from both WoW and Final Fantasy XIV communities in the comments below. Just please remain mutually respectful, as we don't have to agree. But I'd like to maintain a friendly environment around here, okay? At least A Realm Reborn main story questline, which is a fairly long stretch to a newcomer into Final Fantasy XIV, hopefully you'll agree with me here. At least that stretch is full of quests and storylines that are kind of irrelevant. This is my opinion now. I'm close to 50 right now. Please, once again, like I said, hold on to giving me thumbs down. Please just hear me out. There are key pivotal main story questline points that need to be lived through. I agree with you. But I'd also say that there are pretty clearly telegraphed to us by cinematic cut-ins elements that you need to pay attention to. And I think those indicate the key points of the story, so that you understand that what's going on and where it's all going, so you need to be part of this whole living world emerging into something, okay? I get that. I'm not saying you should do anything about that. However, there are many cases like that infamous wine gathering quest, where it's clear to any MMORPG player what's going on. These are just messenger quests that bloat the time spent on the main story questline without any particular justifiable reason for it in 2021, and that you can lose interest to the game very quickly just because you paid too much attention and feel like you're stuck in that particular element of the questline. Do you know what I mean? Especially if you try and actually do what hardcore Final Fantasy XIV community suggests, to read every line of the quest. Somebody even said that to me. I know people are wishing well, but this is my counter argument to you, okay? It's like some in-game NPC girl tells you, hey, before I tell you where to go next on your important main story questline journey, go say hello to these 3 dudes and give them steak. And you're like, okay, well, here I go. Hi, dude. Hi, dude. Let's ride for half an hour. Hi, dude. Then you get back to the quest giver and they're like, oh, you said hello and given them steak. Okay, now I want you to go to this mountain and sing a song, do a dance, and jump 3 times and come back to me. I know I'm exaggerating slightly and I'm trying to be funny, okay? Failing miserably as well. I realize that as I record this. This partly made up example has only one purpose of illustrating what I'm trying to tell you. Why would anyone slowly read from the dialogue above, from the made-up dialogue above there, which you know is close to the real stuff that's going on in the quest line, right? Rather than just quickly click through it and get to the next, get through the inevitable chores quicker. Why wouldn't you do it? This, and at this stage only this, is what I wanted to put front and center of my statement that Final Fantasy XIV can and should be, in certain places, played like World of Warcraft, where we used to pick up a quest without reading the text and just look at the objective there on the summary on the right, where all the quest log is being depicted. You just click through, you don't lose anything really, and get through the boring quest line, quicker, to the next important and meaningful checkpoint. That, would get you back on track, before you get bored of the main story questline. That's all I'm trying to say to you here. I don't want people to get bored. I don't want to get bored. I don't want my fellow World of Warcraft migrants who are not used to this to get bored. And I want them to feel like it's okay to identify and trust your gut that when you see a filler content, just click through it. Nothing is going to happen to you, my man and my lady. You'll be fine. Especially, like I said already, if people come from a more pointy World of Warcraft quest structure that is actually pretty good, believe it or not, for quite a while along the leveling path in WoW. We're not talking WoW endgame, we're talking leveling path in WoW. So these are my thoughts, guys and girls. To summarize, Final Fantasy XIV is not WoW. It's richer in content, it's more respectful to players, and the community is amazing. At least you guys and girls have been amazing so far to me as a newcomer. It needs to be kept this way as well. For all of you who represent this community in such a positive way, good on you. That's exactly what should continue happening, in my opinion. Final Fantasy XIV, however, has storyline stretches, at least through ARR that I've experienced so far, that made me yawn and scratch my head. And if you can, in my opinion, click through those without, worrying too much, then you should. You should click through those quests without hesitation. You will not lose any storyline context. As soon as the cutscenes are coming, slow down, start reading again, and then you'll catch on to what's happening. That's about it. In between, you can play it like we play WoW. You can save a lot of time just going through those things slightly more mechanically, slightly more on auto-run, autopilot kind of thing. Just pay attention to the quest log on the right side of the screen, get to the target, do what they want you to do, go, go, go. That's it. That's what I started doing. I have to admit I started doing this. I know purists are going to disagree with me. It's fine. It's fine. But so far, I have not seen any proof of the fact that my approach has lost me anything. I'm still interested in the game, I still love this game, I still love engaging with you guys and girls here on my channel, and there is more content for me to cover. I'm getting to my target faster, but I am applying a little bit of a WoW-like gameplay elements to how I go through ARR. I very much welcome your opinion on this. I hope that this was enough to provide an all-rounded kind of impression of what I had in mind in terms of saying to you that Final Fantasy XIV is not WoW, but some things probably could benefit from WoW, like just cut through this, cut through the chase, my friends, before you lose interest. Tell me what you think. I very much appreciate all your comments. I read all of them. I read all of your comments, by the way. I'm super interested. You're so generous in your write-ups and in your advice. I take it seriously. Look, I don't agree with everything. I'm not gonna do everything you suggest that I do, including those people who are saying to me that I should get to the end game and only then start talking to the community. No, that's not gonna happen. I can tell you right now. But other than that, love talking to you. Please subscribe if this content sounds like your cup of tea. If you like honest and apologetic but respectful coverage of Final Fantasy XIV content, because more content is coming your way like a freight train. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. I'll talk to you in the comments down below. See you soon. Bye bye.